Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, today we're tackling a topic that people have been asking for forever.
Meaning they never have once.
No one has ever asked for this. We are looking into...
I'm raising my hand.
Luke
This is my idea.
This is Luke's idea. Lighthouses.
Who doesn't love a lighthouse, James?
My mom loves lighthouses.
So, like, every time I go on vacation, wherever we are, my wife is like, oh my goodness, there's a lighthouse. We have to go see it.
By your wife, you mean you.
By my wife, I mean me. But so what we do is we make a pilgrimage to wherever it is, and you go see this lighthouse, and, you can never go in them. So you basically,
can't.
you drive up, or you walk up, or you hike up, or you bike up, whatever it is, and you get there, and you hurt your neck staring at the top of the thing. You take some horrible pictures of it because the thing's so tall, you got to be super far away. But I still love lighthouses.
I'm glad to hear that.
There's some nostalgia there.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So you're not a lighthouse lover?
No. It seems kind of like a wasted couple hours to get to and back.
So you've never gone out of your way
I have.
on vacation to go look at a lighthouse?
Oh, yeah. My mom's made me do that.
Okay.
I've seen a couple others, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm not a big lighthouse guy.
Okay.
Could you tell me what a lighthouse is for all of our listeners who don't know?
Well, so first of all, if you don't know what a lighthouse is, we don't want you listening to our show. Sorry.
That's pretty
Unless
fair.
you're a kid. If you're a kid, keep listening. You'll learn.
Okay, that was a good recovery.
Yeah. Okay, so a lighthouse is a tower, building, or other structure designed to emit light from a system of lamps and lenses to serve as navigational markers and safety markers for maritime pilots, as they're called, or sea captains, on the sea or inland waterways.
I think you should start your own dictionary because your definitions off the top of your head are so good.
That was off the top of my head.
I know, it was
did
really
not read that.
impressive.
I did not read that or cut and paste that from anywhere.
You know, something that I guess I didn't know is that lighthouses can be part of inland waterways.
Yeah.
I'd never really consider it like that because we're not just talking like, oh, here's a cove and that's why you need it. Because, yeah, we get that.
Mm-hmm.
But like lakes and rivers and things like that.
Never
thought about it.
Like a perfect example, like I have a camp in Tidiute, PA, which is about I don't know, an hour and 50 minutes like north of Pittsburgh, and there's a lighthouse in the middle of the river. And whenever they were using rivers for carrying stuff back and forth up in that direction, years ago during timber trade, they'd be bringing down lumber. They needed to know where the island was so they didn't run right into the thing. So there's a lighthouse like right at the end of the island.
Well, there we go. How about that?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Thanks for that lighthouse. Okay, 2 purposes they serve, or so I'm told. 1, illuminating waterways, like you're saying. So waterways that are treacherous by reefs or rocks or whatever hazards. I don't know whatever was in that river that was going on, but yeah, something that makes it hazardous so that the ships know not to smack into whatever is causing trouble. So that's good. So most lighthouses include other things other than a light, like a fog signal and horns, to make that sound, bells, or even cannons, which I think is cool.
They would also do Morse code with the lights. So they would close the lamp. So not only was it, hey, watch out, there's like big rocks here, but they could actually, before like radios and stuff like that, they could go beep, 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 beep.
Morse code might be an okay episode.
Oh, that
Have
would be
we
a
not
good one.
done that?
Yeah,
I won't even remember saying
I know,
this now.
we won't. We're going to totally
second
forget.
purpose. They serve as a reference to mariners. Like the Seattle Mariners?
I'm guessing.
Like baseball players?
Wow.
Okay, so they
That's
help
impressive.
baseball out. An individual lighthouse distinguished itself with the day mark, the color schemes and patterns of the tower, and its light signature. So apparently, I didn't ever think about that either. The way they're painted and the way they look is actually meaningful versus it just kind of looks neat and it's a different looking lighthouse.
So the pattern specifically, so the day marks, this would allow them, even if they were off course, so if they were maybe north of where they were supposed to be, they would see one with diamond shapes or spirals or stripes. So that's why they're all different colors, they're all different shapes, stripes, diamonds, all types of stuff. So, I mean, think about it. During the day, if you're just looking and they were all just big white towers, you'd kind of, that's
another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-oh, are we going in a circle here?
Exactly.
Interesting.
So
that makes sense.
And I never knew
doesn't
that.
it?
I never knew they were called day marks because
I
at night,
didn't either.
obviously, you can't see it. So.
They're not called night marks. That's
No,
for
they're
sure.
not. No,
Unless
they're
they
not.
glow in the dark, then maybe they are.
Yeah.
Maybe we should offer that up to the 3 lighthousers left.
Glow-in-the-dark paint would be interesting.
I think it's a good idea. You don't even need the light anymore. So before there was automation in the 20th century, lighthouses had to, kind of work with a really cumbersome system, we'll say. It wasn't exactly easy, and it was a really crappy life, too. So as well as keeping the light safe and keeping it shining all the time, so not just at night, it would shine during the day as well, and it still does. In addition to the lighthouse, a complete light station includes all those different things that we talked about, as well as a boathouse, so that you could go out and make rescues if you were dumb enough to do so, or brave enough to do so. Or living quarters as well for the keeper and maybe the keeper's family, which I think this was probably the start of homeschooling, was the lighthouse keeper's family probably, had to be homeschooled.
Well, just think, Jason Momoa, Aquaman, his dad was a lighthouse keeper.
Was he?
Yeah.
And that's why Aquaman is so good at the oceans.
That's why he's good. His dad was a lighthouse keeper. His mother was the queen of Atlantis, and there you go.
Oh, so his actual dad was not a lighthouse
keeper.
No.
He maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Wouldn't it be great if he was?
How cool would that be?
It would be really
Could I do
cool.
a little bit of early history?
I want to hear the earliest history you have.
So, originally...
Wait, does it have to do with Aquaman?
It just Jason Momoa is not in it.
Oh, I'm not interested.
So super early history, they would just build fires on hills, so they knew that there was a hillside.
Like on Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, basically. But that was more for knowing the orcs were coming kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so they would build on high hills on the coastline to let them know where the the coves were, or where the ports were, and then eventually they started, hey, we got to do this all the time. Let's just build a platform. So they would build platforms, and then the platforms turned into taller towers, and so on and so on and so on. So interestingly, one of the most famous lighthouses. This was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world.
Wow!
This was built back in 284 AD. It's the Lighthouse of Alexandria, sometimes called Pharos of Alexandria. So if you're in Egypt and you're at the very top of Egypt, right where Alexandria would have been back in the day, I don't know if it's still called Alexandria, there was this lighthouse that stood for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's one of the most famous wonders of the world. It was the tallest structure. It was somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 feet tall, that's pretty tall, considering some of the tallest lighthouses in the world today are only around 400 feet tall.
That's kind of interesting, yeah. That was a long time ago, Luke.
That
was about when you were born.
Yeah. So then, modern era. It's funny they say modern because they really haven't changed since then.
They really haven't.
So 18th century, lighthouse construction starts booming because, transatlantic commerce, boats are getting more sophisticated, structural engineering and, the way they were able to build things and cement and steel and all the different things that were happening at that time allowed them to create larger and more powerful lighthouses. So yeah, right about the 18th century is when it got really popular.
Nailed that.
I try.
Yeah, I think you did a great job. All right, before we move on with any more of the history and how lighthouses went from really not a nice place to be working and living to still not a really nice place to go on vacation.
What?
Okay, I mean, a great place to go sightsee, but much more automated. Let's take a break for this week's word from our sponsor.
So we don't have a sponsor, but we should have a sponsor. So I
How
want
do
to
you
thank.
know we don't?
Because we never do.
Oh.
I want to thank the U.S. Lighthouse Society. So if you go to uslhs.org, these cats got some amazing information about lighthouses. I stole a ton of my fun facts from these guys. I don't know. Did you find these guys?
Yeah, I found that.
Okay, yeah, they were really good. So they didn't sponsor us, but we're gonna say that you should check them out. It's a really interesting website.
I feel like the Lighthouse Society probably doesn't have the cash money to spend on sponsoring us.
It looks like a pretty legit society. I mean, it's one of the better web pages I've visited in a while. Way better than unprofessionalengineering.com.
Doesn't take much to do that. A couple of shout-outs, though. How about that?
Sweet.
Sarah H. wrote in. Oh, Sarah. Was looking for a little advice on engineering and if it was a good career choice.
Oh, heck yes.
That's what I said. I was like, heck yes, especially if you're interested in something like NASA, like Sarah is interested in.
Without a doubt.
I was like, heck yeah, do that. But maybe we're not the best people to ask. Go look into that. figure it out on your own. But I say yes.
And I love whenever women get involved in engineering and mathematics because I having a daughter, I think that's great for women to go into those fields because it shouldn't be the way that it has been historically. Kind of a male-dominated thing, unfortunately. So.
I don't have a daughter, but I do have a girl dog, and I always try to get her to count her milk bones. So that's kind of similar.
Not at all.
Jonas P., Spotify listener, ME student as well, / machinist.
I don't know.
Working as a machinist. So
okay.
Dude's going to have a huge leg up. I mean,
Yes,
I
he
never
is.
would have thought that, say, 10 years ago. But wow, being a machinist and actually knowing how stuff works and then being an engineer on top of it.
To make it
big time. Yeah.
huge.
So good luck with that. So
this isn't a shout out.
Oh.
But we got some hate mail
Oh.
the other day.
Which one? Oh, that one.
Yeah. And I can't say what was in the hate mail, but I feel like, James, when you get hate mail, you've made it.
Yeah.
I feel like you and I are literally, you're leaving me hanging here. I feel like we are literally, like, if you're not offending somebody by what you say.
We nailed it.
He was so mad. Basically, was he a civil?
No, he wasn't any engineer. I think he was looking into engineering.
Okay.
And was very offended by our take on civil engineering and lack of valuable information for what he wanted.
Well, so first of all, a lot of what we say is tongue-in-cheek.
That's what I said. Well, I wrote back and said
you did?
sorry
Okay.
about that, and he's like, all right, yeah, maybe I'll be less angry next time.
Yeah.
So we're all friends
Okay,
again.
we are
We're good
good.
listeners, but yeah, man,
I love hate mail.
we got a good hate
It was
mail.
bad. Like
That was our best hate mail.
there
So
were swear
congratulations to
words
that.
in it.
There were. I blocked them out when I sent it to you so that you wouldn't have to subject your eyes to that.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, if you have some hate mail for us, send
Yes.
it on into
We love it.
unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. Hit us up on the Facebooks or Twitters with it as well.
Subscribe.
Subscribe on...
Write some reviews. 4-star share with your friends and family.
I guess it's Apple Podcast now, not iTunes. But subscribe wherever you listen.
Yep.
Write reviews. And, yeah, that's it. We'll send you stickers.
Sweet.
Moving on.
on.
All right. So, fun fact for you to start off.
Okay.
No two lighthouses have been built the same. And I think that's kind of a
Really?
real vague statement because I think they're all kind of the same.
Yeah, they're all skinny and pointy and
The
tall.
way they're saying it is that lighthouses are placed on shores overlooking water. Some are built offshore on reefs on different patches.
and the terrain is always
the-
different.
The height of them's always different. It's
Gotcha.
not like there's a consistent formula for all lighthouses are 322 feet. They're at this height. They're on this. So every one you look at is going to be just a little bit different based
Okay.
off of the geography around it.
Okay.
You stole one of my fun facts about Egypt, but in fun fact number 2, the Tower of Hercules. Have you heard of it?
I haven't.
You haven't?
I heard it, but I figured you were going to be doing some, so I left that one out.
Thanks. It was built by the Romans in northern Spain. They must have taken Spain over and been
I'm
like,
sure.
this place needs a lighthouse.
That's
fast.
exactly what they need.
Yeah. It was taken over during the 1st century AD, and it remains the oldest functioning lighthouse in the world. How's that a thing? It's crazy to me.
It is. It is. That is crazy.
All right, so lighting the lighthouses back in the day. Wood fires were used as the earliest illuminants.
Could
Did
you
know
imagine being the keeper and you're literally in this tower up at the top, smoke pouring into your face? Like how terrible that would have
that?
been.
It sounds like the worst job.
But then it got better.
Well, it did, but hold on. As lighthouses got more popular, lamps were powered by coal, whale's oil, kerosene, and other fuels. Does that make it better?
Well, so first of all, the specific lamp was called an Argden lamp. It was invented in 1782 by a Swiss scientist, Aimé Argdan, and it revolutionized because it was smokeless and it could use multiple fuel types. It could use whale oil, kerosene, even vegetable oil.
Very
I think
diverse.
it
It's
said.
like you.
Yeah, it is.
Like a triple threat.
It's the triple threat of lighthouse illumination
Yeah.
technology. So, but this and literally, this has been up until they started electrifying these. This was literally what they used, literally up until
Literally.
literally, not figuratively, literally up until they started electrifying a lot of these.
Okay.
So it was ages and ages and ages they were using these Argdan lamps. I can't say that word.
What was it called again?
Argand, Argand, Argand. Argand?
Argand.
I think I nailed it.
Speaking of things that kind of revolutionized the lighthouse, did you hear about the Fresnel lens?
I love the Fresnel lens.
Do you?
I
do.
do.
Because I do too.
I saw them before, and I wondered why they were kind of funny looking and not just like a dome. And then I saw like the physics
then you watched
of what
a
they
video?
do. I didn't watch a video. I looked at a
I
picture.
did. I actually watched a video on this one. I pulled a Luke. So it came along in 1822, and in short, it uses a network of prisms to magnify a small amount of light and make it cover an extreme distance. But let's go into a little more details on that. What do you think?
I love it. So originally, the lenses were just domes.
Yeah, super big domes.
And they had to be really big and
Super
really
thick.
thick glass. And then the challenge was, if you think about a dome, if you have a light at the center of a dome, that light's going to go in all directions. It's going to go up and down. It's not going to necessarily go out. And that was a challenge. So you had this light source that you were basically wasting all this light going vertically and not horizontally.
And the light actually gets sucked into that thick piece of glass as well, which I didn't really ever think about, but it does really reduce the amount of light going through when it's really thick like it was.
Mm-hmm. And thanks to Augustine Jean, how did you pronounce it? Fresnel?
Frenchy, yeah.
Yeah, he developed this lens to do something with oblique light. What do you have on that? Do you have something on oblique light?
I don't have anything about oblique light,
okay.
But here's how I understand it.
Okay.
So at least this is from the video that I watched. This is the great research.
Okay.
If you imagine like a contact lens, that's what the lenses originally looked like, except not tiny for your eyeball.
Super thick.
Big for the eyeball of a lighthouse, right? And so then he was like, well, this is too thick. It's heavy. It's hard to keep up here. It reduces my light. I bet I can do a better job of that. So if you would just chop off that curved portion of like the contact lens right at the tip and move it all the way down to the flatty spot, right? And then you make a lot of like jaggedy points.
Yeah, the jaggedy noise.
The jaggedy noise. That would be helping you to then keep the light focused into the center. So you don't lose any of the light going through the curved thickness, and you get that benefit. And then all of that light, like you were talking about, that's going up and down, hits those jaggedy edges, and it refocuses the light where it's supposed to be going. And so you get a brighter light, you get it able to travel further, and you don't have this giant, thick, heavy lens any longer.
It's almost like if you think about like looking around the corner with a mirror. If you hold the mirror, at like a 45-degree angle, the light is going to hit that mirror and then bounce 45 degrees, and it's going to end up being 90 degrees to the original one. So rather than that light going up, it's going to hit that. And they were super accurate. They would actually adjust the angle so that it all ended up producing horizontal light.
Yeah, I watched an experiment on it online in another video that I watched about it, and it showed just how the light beam would work with the normal lens and how accurate or how it was focused in the middle until you started moving, and then with the Fresnel lens, how it would all work perfectly. So it was super cool.
Fun fact, the first Fresnel lens was used in 1823 in the Cordua, Corduna Lighthouse at the mouth of the Gridron estuary, and its light could be seen from more than 20 miles away.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
It's about 7,000 kilometers, I think.
Give or take, maybe more. Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
All right, if you want to check that out, it's Fresnel. Go Googles it on the YouTubes. Do you Googles on the YouTubes?
Never.
No, okay. So moving on. Fun fact.
Shoot.
In 1886, do you know where I'm going with this?
I don't.
The Statue of Liberty became the first lighthouse powered by electricity and served as a lighthouse in New York Harbor for 15 years. Two things. Did not know that it was powered by electricity then as the first lighthouse. Two, did not know it was a lighthouse.
Well, there was a light. I mean...
I did not know that.
The torch.
I didn't know that.
Really?
Does it just glow?
I think.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Thanks. You make me feel so bad.
Sorry.
So we talked about the electrical lines, led to a bunch of inventions as well, though. So it didn't just get rid of all of the stuff that was catching lighthouses on fire and whatnot. It also involved including automated time clocks, devices to replace burnt-out light bulbs, and improved radio communications as well. So this kind of sent lighthouses in the direction they are now, where everything's really automated. So you and I don't have to live at a lighthouse making sure that everything's working properly because it's all automated now.
Actually, interestingly enough, all lighthouses in the United States are automated except for the Boston Light. This is the oldest station in the United States, and Congress declared that this lighthouse always be staffed 24 hours a day.
Which lighthouse was that?
So it's called the Boston Light. It's somewhere in Boston. So it always has an official lightkeeper. But every other lighthouse in the United States is, number one, it's run by the U.S. Coast Guard, and number two, they are automated.
You know, the last time I flew into Boston, I was just looking at how jaggedy all the coastline and all the stuff shooting out is around there. What a terrible choice of places to live.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day. Maybe not so bad now. I mean, it's bad for a different reason now, Tom Brady, but but back then, I mean, how dangerous.
Couldn't have been good.
No. All right, so before we get into the last part of our great episode, let's take a break for this week's Luke's Rant.
So this rant, James, is more me being misled.
Okay.
So I was under the impression that my favorite singer-songwriter, Gordon Lightfoot.
You always tell me you love him.
He's my favorite singer-songwriter. So I just assumed that the Edmunds Fitzgerald was, first of all, I thought it was fake. I thought he just made a song up called the Edmunds Fitzgerald. And it turns out there really was a boat called the Edmund Fitzgerald. It sank in Lake Superior in 1975. Everybody died, true story. And then I assume, it's got to be because of a lighthouse or lack thereof a lighthouse. So I'm doing all this research trying to find Edmund Fitzgerald and lighthouse, and I find nothing. It was unfortunate.
So you're telling me all of your crack research was for naught?
Well, it wasn't for naught, but although it was just interesting. I like the song.
You played it for me earlier.
We played to get us pumped up.
It got me in the zone.
Nothing pumps you up more like 29 people dying on a boat in Lake Superior.
This is true. Poor Lake Superior.
Yeah. Did you know the waves? Can you imagine on a lake 35-foot tall waves? That's big. Sank in 500. Who knew Lake Superior is 500 feet deep?
I mean, I'm sure someone did.
That's bananas.
But I didn't. Yeah. That's why I don't go out on boats unless I do.
So I want to read to you a very short verse.
I like where this is headed. Go ahead.
So when supper time came, the old cook came on deck saying, "Fellas, it's too rough to feed ya." At 7 p.m., the main hatchway caved in. He said, "Fellas, it's been good to know ya." The captain wired in. We had water coming in, and the good ship and crew were in peril. And later that night, when his lights went out of sight, came the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Wow.
This is really hit me. This is emotional.
Hard, yeah.
It got me in the feels.
Wow. It got me in the feels.
So every year, just to recognize, people did die. We don't want to be too. But every year in November anniversary, they set up 29 candles and ring the bell of the actual Edmund Fitzgerald 29 times for each soul that was lost in that wreck.
That's nice.
Be interesting to check out.
Yeah. I feel bad that these people died hungry as well because it's too rough to feed them.
Yeah, because the cook, come on.
I believe Bell's makes an Edmund Fitzgerald beer as well, which would make sense. All right, back on a happier note. Thanks for bringing me down. Fun fact, Luke. The Stevensons, a Scottish family of lighthouse engineers.
That's a thing, a family of lighthouse engineers?
Well, that's what makes this a fun fact, is that there's a family of lighthouse engineers from Scotland built 97 lighthouses along the Scottish coastline and elsewhere. So they were pretty good at what they did. You know what else they did? They made author Robert Louis Stevenson, the novelist who wrote things like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Treasure Island. So I bet he had some nautical experience with his family of lighthouse engineers to get some ideas.
Nice.
I thought that was kind of
cool. I got a couple fun facts.
Oh, hit me.
Tallest lighthouse, James, without looking at my screen.
Oh.
How tall is it in the world?
Saudi Arabia, I don't know, 432 feet?
You're the worst.
No, I have it written down,
The largest in the world is something called Jedi. I'm going to say Jedi because that's what it sounds cool to me. It's 436 feet tall. It's in Saudi Arabia. The tallest lighthouse in the United States, this is crazy.
No idea.
Is Cape Hatteras?
Haters gonna hate.
Haters Light in North Carolina.
Huh.
It's 207. That means this one in
That's
Saudi
really
Arabia
short.
is double.
I'm practically that tall.
So now here's two I've seen personally. I've seen a bunch, but recently, personally, I saw one on Assateague Island down in Virginia. It's 142 feet tall. And then in good old Michigan near Holland is a place called Little Sable, and it's 107 feet tall.
I went to that one with our friend Casey.
And
it was a very lovely lighthouse.
And did you know that Michigan has more lighthouses than any other state in the United States?
That
I don't
was
know
one
the
of my
number.
fun facts.
Do you have the number?
Thought,
I didn't have the number.
I don't know if I have the number or not.
It's crazy.
But yeah, like I read that, and again, this was me coming in as like I didn't know that they'd really have a lot of lighthouses around a lake.
I didn't
or
think
rivers
there was
and
that
things,
much
so...
ship travel to require it, but
yeah,
apparently there is.
I didn't realize that either. 120, more than 120 lighthouses in the state of Michigan. Isn't that crazy?
Bananas.
Okay, so let's see here. Do I have anything else? In 1789, Congress created the U.S. Lighthouse Establishment to bring lighthouses under federal control because they were kind of junky and they weren't doing a real good job and they weren't real consistent. So after first earning a second-rate reputation for the poor quality of the lighthouses, people's ships were wrecking, that's no good, the United States became home to more than 1,000 lighthouses by 1900. I don't remember what the number is as to what they are at now. It's not a lot, though, of actual functional lighthouses. I also have something about maths. If you want to figure out where your lighthouse should be placed and how far it's going to be shining, the height of the lighthouse varies due to their placement, obviously, and you have to calculate the square root of the height of the lighthouse about the water surface. If you take the height of the lighthouse in feet and multiply it by 1.7 to get the exact you'll get the exact distance in relation to the horizon in view.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's how you can tell how far it's going to be shining to warn people. Good news, right?
The first lighthouse in America was in Boston on Little Brewster Island.
Really?
That's where Punky Brewster's from.
Obviously.
The first keeper was George Worthylake. Interesting name.
Yeah.
Who drowned along with his
fitting.
wife. He drowned. You're a lighthouse keeper. How can you drown? He and his wife and his daughter drowned when returning, because it was an island, in 1718.
Because no one was manning the lighthouse.
No one was manning the lighthouse.
This is what happened.
The oldest lighthouse in America is in Sandy Hook, New Jersey.
America?
1764. It's still in operation.
It's run by the mob.
I don't know about that.
No. You want to rattle off some more, or do you want me to go into some famous lighthouses?
You could do some famous lighthouses.
Okay, we talked about the Tower of Hercules in Spain, right? How about this one? Les Eclairs Lighthouse in Argentina.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Also known as the Lighthouse at the End of the World. This lighthouse is located on a small island east of the Argentinian city of Ushuaia, the southernmost city of the world, which I think is pretty interesting. It was built in 1920 and now is a popular tourist attraction. It does not have a gift shop, I assume. Did you talk about the Cape Hatteras? Yeah, you said haters, though. Haters gonna hate.
Yeah.
Okay, you talked about that one. You talked about... Ooh, how about this one? Cupa Lighthouse in Estonia. It's an ancient lighthouse. It's the third oldest operating lighthouse in the world since 1531. I always just assumed Estonia was inland because it has the word stone in it. That's how educated I am.
I assumed it was fake.
You didn't think Estonia
was a real country?
Was a thing?
No, I did not.
Okay.
So I got a couple fun facts that I got from, again, I have to thank the cats over at the U.S. Lighthouse Society. So in at least 14 states, you can actually stay in a lighthouse overnight. So they've turned these lighthouses in some cases into like bed and breakfasts, place you can stay. So if you go to, again, uslhs.org, you can actually look on their website, find the accommodations, and stay overnight in a lighthouse.
Wow. I do not want to do that.
I think that'd be kind of cool. Some of them you actually stay up where the light like kind of used to be.
They have comfy beds?
Like I don't think they're like legit lighthouses anymore. They've like took the light out and there's no whale blubber in there or oil feeding the lights, and and it's probably super expensive.
Yeah, see, another reason I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Can I give you a few stories to end on? I have 3 really nice ones
Okay,
to
good.
talk about the hazards of lighthousing.
Better than the Edmund Fitzgerald story?
It's
that
about
had
along
nothing-
the same lines.
That had nothing to do with lighthouses?
These have something to do with lighthouses. Story number 1. Until the invention of the light bulb in the lighthouse, the light actually came from a flame, like we talked about. If it escaped, bad things could happen, right? So off the southern coast of England in 1755, this all went down. The lighthouse there at the time had a structure of pitch-coated wood and a lead roof. Henry Hall, a 94-year-old dude, was the lighthouse keeper. He discovered that a spark, probably from the candle in the lantern, had flown up and ignited the top of the tower. He was like, well, that's no good. Better put that out. He looks up and throws a bucket of water on the blaze. And a stream of molten lead from the roof pours down on his face and down his throat. Incredibly, he survived.
What?
For 12 days.
Oh.
When he died, the autopsy revealed his stomach contained 200 grams of solid lead.
This is like a guy in Game of Thrones and he poured it on his head.
Oh, yeah. The Last of the Dragons or whatever it was. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Story
terrible.
number 2. It's just like another Jason Mimosa reference.
This is not better than the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Story 2. Lighthouses likely attracted some folk who had trouble fitting into society. This is my favorite one.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. But the keeper of the Clipperton Island was an extreme case, Luke.
Okay.
It was extreme. The danger in this situation wasn't to the keeper, but to the people stuck on the tiny Pacific island, 1,000 kilometers, which I don't know how far that is,
72
off
miles.
Mexico's southwest coast with him. Since 1899, Clipperton Island had supported a small guano mining colony, so that's bad enough. But by 1915, political turmoil in Mexico had stopped supply ships from going there and replenishing the community, leaving everybody hungry. The only available food was birds and eggs and things like that, and so they started getting scurvy, which, they don't have
the
fruits
worst.
and limes
You need
and all
citrus,
that.
vitamin
junk.
C.
Yeah, vitamin C. So 4 men set off in a boat to find some help, but they all drowned because that's what happens. And that left the lighthouse keeper, Victoriano Alvarez, the only man on the island with about a dozen women. Good things don't happen, Luke. He grabbed a rifle, threw the rest of the weapons in the ocean, and enslaved the women, abusing them physically, mentally, and sexually. After 2 years of this, one woman, Tirza Randon, managed to kill Alvarez by smashing his head with a hammer while he was distracted. A passing boat later rescued the women.
What is wrong with you?
One more story. Wasn't that an interesting story, though, about lighthouses?
You were so the worst.
Okay, one more. This one's actually really good.
Okay. No more head smashing?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Ida Lewis, the daughter of a lighthouse keeper at Lime Rock in Newport, Rhode Island, so pretty close to home here, became famous for her rescues in the late 19th century and was dubbed, quote, the bravest woman in America.
Nice.
Yeah. She made most of the rescues by herself in a rowboat, which she had learned to row while ferrying her siblings to school on the mainland 200 meters away. Lewis made her first rescue as a teenager. How many people did you rescue as a teenager? Probably not a lot.
3 or 4.
Okay, 3 or 4. Better than me. When she was rushed out to save 4 boys whose boat had capsized, hauling them over in her rowboat. She went on to rescue at least 18 other people and once used a clothesline to save some men who had plummeted through the ice, because it's cold up there, in the frozen harbor. She ended up taking over running the lighthouse that her father was running after he died and her mother's health failed. And it turns out females running lighthouses wasn't all that uncommon because they grew up around them and they became very knowledgeable about how they function and how they work. So how they function and work, which is apparently different.
2 different things.
Yes.
That's a Luke.
And so that was a Luke. And so they would run them, and that's what she did.
Thank you for finishing on a note that didn't involve bashing in heads or imprisonment.
Yeah. I thought those were all very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's that about lighthouses.
I thought this was good. I liked it.
I thought this was an episode.
Oh.
Hey, if you all stuck with us through this one, thank you very much. I would consider you Unprofessional Engineering superfans. Let us know what you thought about lighthouses, and if there's anything we missed, write us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. Until next time.
See ya.